So, what if tackling a mythical monster isn't just about physical strength, but more like a map for dealing with something inside us?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the core question we're digging into today, using this, well, stack of sources you've shared. We're zooming in on one specific story, the fourth labor of Hercules, and exploring the layers, how the material links its symbolism to things like Freemasonry, tarot, other mythologies.
It's a really rich area. These old stories, they just keep echoing, don't they? Carrying these powerful ideas about discipline, about inner work across so many different systems.
Yeah, exactly. So the goal is to sort of pull out those threads.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the story. Hercules' fourth labor. It's about capturing the Erymanthian Boar. Let's set the scene first based on the sources. Hercules has to bring back this boar, right?
Yeah, this monstrous boar that's basically terrorizing the whole region of Erymanthus. Like destroying crops, scaring people, chaos.
And it's not just any old wild pig.
No, definitely not. The sources really emphasize its size, its ferocity,
Yeah.
enormous tusks, just incredibly savage. It's presented as this embodiment of, well, chaos, the untamed wilderness, raw, unrestrained power, really.
And even getting there is tough. The terrain itself is part of the ordeal.
Absolutely.
It's
Rugged,
like
dangerous mountains. It sort of mirrors the difficulty of just approaching such a primal, destructive force.
Okay, so that's the setup. But this is where this labor starts to feel a bit different from the earlier ones, isn't it? Like the Nemean lion, the Hydra, those were about killing. This one, the fourth, specifically says capture.
And that's a really crucial point the material highlights. It signals, maybe, an increase in the complexity of these trials.
No, so.
Well, killing, you could argue, is often about brute force elimination. Capture, though, that needs something else. Something more subtle, perhaps.
Right, and Hercules' approach here, it reflects that, doesn't it? The sources say he didn't just charge in.
No, he used his head, used the environment. He apparently drove the boar up the mountain, tiring it out. And the key move was driving it into a deep snowdrift.
Ah, the snow.
Exactly. That thick snow, it just bogged the huge creature down, made it sluggish, slow. That's what allowed Hercules to finally overpower it, get a net around it, subdue it.
Without killing it.
Without killing it. That's the point.
So that act, subduing, capturing, not destroying it, really shifts the symbolism, doesn't it?
Totally. It moves beyond just physical power. It brings in strategy, ingenuity, using the surroundings, and maybe even a kind of restraint.
So less about just beating the monster, more about mastering it, integrating it somehow.
Yes, I think that's a good way to put it. It's like learning to handle those really intense energies or, passions, but with a smarter approach, using cunning, understanding the terrain, whether that's the mountain or your own internal landscape.
Okay, let's dig into that core symbolism first. On the surface, the boar is this primal destructive force.
Right. Wild nature, chaos.
And Hercules capturing it symbolizes civilization, order, kind of winning out over the untamed.
That's definitely one layer. But the sources suggest, maybe more significantly for the sort of inner journey aspect, it represents the hero learning to confront and master his own inner chaos.
His own wild impulses.
Exactly, those untamed parts of the self.
And this idea of the boar, it pops up elsewhere too, doesn't it? The material mentions Celtic mythology.
Yeah, it does. And there, the boar is really complex. It's a symbol of war, bravery, ferocity, the warrior spirit.
Okay.
But also, interestingly, fertility and abundance.
Huh. So destruction and life-giving all wrapped up in one symbol.
It's a fascinating duality, isn't it? It kind of underscores that these powerful primal forces aren't just bad. They're potent energies. They can be destructive, sure, but they also hold potential for life, for creation. It depends how they're channeled.
Which brings us back to Hercules capturing, not killing. It fits that idea of channeling, maybe?
Precisely. It represents the deeper stage. Brute strength is still there, but it's being tempered, refined by strategy, by restraint, by this growing inner mastery. The wild energy is brought under conscious control, not just wiped out.
It speaks to that responsibility maybe as you develop to actually face those primal instincts, not just push them down, but learn how to harness them, integrate them.
Yeah, integrate them into something more whole, more refined.
Okay, so this is where the sources start weaving in connections to other systems, showing how this lesson kind of ripples outwards. First up, Freemasonry.
Right. The material draws a direct line from this labor to the idea of labor or work within Masonry.
Which is seen as
a path of self-improvement, basically.
Yeah.
An ascent towards enlightenment or light. And a key part of that work is striving to overcome one's own primal nature. The boar within, you can say.
And they place this labor very specifically, don't they, on the winding stairs?
Yes, the fourth labor corresponds to the fourth step of the second set of stairs in that symbolic structure.
Okay, and that step has specific associations.
It does. It's linked to the sense of smell and architecturally to the Corinthian order.
The Corinthian order, that's the really ornate one, right? Very detailed, refined.
Exactly. The most elaborate of the classical Greek orders. And the sense of smell, think about it. It's subtle. It perceives things you can't see or hear or touch directly, often working on an almost subconscious level.
So the idea is, as you progress up these symbolic stairs, facing harder challenges like capturing the boar.
Your inner awareness needs to become more refined.
Yeah, like developing a more subtle sense, like smell.
That seems to be the connection the sources make. As the trials get more complex, you can't just rely on old methods or brute force. You need, well, deeper perception, an ability to sense the unseen, the subtle nuances of a situation or within yourself.
And the structure you're building your character, your life's work becomes more refined, more beautiful, like that Corinthian column.
Right. More intricate in form and function.
So the Masonic take on this labor isn't just control your urges. It's more like develop this higher sensitivity, this refined awareness so that you can bring things into order through planning, patience, subtlety.
Exactly. It's about transforming that chaotic energy. The boar isn't just an enemy to be smashed. It's a force to be understood and brought under conscious, skillful control. It really elevates the idea of that inner work, that labor.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly. The sources also link this to tarot, specifically the Eight of Cups card.
Yes, the Eight of Cups, often depicted as a figure walking away from 8 standing cups, seemingly leaving behind past accomplishments or emotional situations.
Right, heading towards mountains, often under a moon or sun, or both.
It's generally interpreted as a card of moving on, seeking deeper meaning, perhaps a spiritual quest, leaving the known to find something more fulfilling, following a path towards wisdom, towards the source.
And this journey, this card, is linked astrologically to Libra.
Yes, Libra, the scales, which is all about balance, harmony, justice, reconciling opposites.
Okay, I can see the connection there. Hercules capturing this wild, destructive force, the boar, and bringing it controlled into the realm of order, presenting it to the king. That feels very Libran, like bringing opposing forces into some kind of equilibrium.
It does, doesn't it? It's that act of integration again, not destroying the wildness, but finding a balance with it, bringing order to the chaos.
So the Eight of Cups reflects that journey towards deeper wisdom, maybe leaving behind simpler solutions, like just killing the beast, for a more integrated path, guided by both light and shadow, sun and moon.
Right, navigating experience, seeking that deeper source. And the Lear influence underscores that this path requires finding balance, learning to reconcile those powerful opposing forces within yourself, the raw energy of the boar and the ordering principle of the hero or the initiate.
It really brings together the idea of refining your approach as the challenges get harder.
And that 4-step connection, again, the sense of smell, the Corinthian order, it reinforces this idea of developing a finer perception, a more sophisticated awareness. Things that were hidden start to become apparent.
It's like a call to keep climbing, but with more subtlety, more awareness.
A renewed purpose, maybe clearer insight.
Okay, so stepping back, this deep dive into just one labor, the fourth labor, really shows how these ancient stories are packed with meaning, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's not just an adventure story.
Yeah.
It's carrying these potent symbolic messages about mastering challenges, yes, but also about controlling those inner forces.
Through strategy, through restraint, through developing a deeper kind of knowing.
And we see these same core ideas reflected across different symbolic languages, mythology, Freemasonry, tarot. It speaks to a universal human journey, really.
The journey of inner mastery, of navigating complexity, moving from maybe brute reactions to more considered integrated responses.
It's that evolution, isn't it? From simply tackling external problems to really engaging with and transforming your own internal landscape.
Which feels very relevant, thinking about how these themes facing tough forces, refining awareness, seeking balance, might play out in your own life, your own learning.
Definitely. And the sources we looked at, they actually leave us with a couple of questions to chew on, kind of building on all this.
Good place to pause and reflect. What are they?
First, what powerful emotional force, maybe like that boar, do you feel you need to master rather than just suppress or ignore?
That's a big one. Master, not suppress.
And the second ties into Hercules' method. How do moments of, say, solitude or retreat like Hercules up on that snowy mountain help you find clarity or strategic insight for your own challenges?
Finding that snowdrift moment for yourself. Interesting. Lots to think about there.